Scientists put people in love into an fMRI scanner and discovered something strange. Romantic love activates the exact same brain regions as dangerous, prohibited substances. And that is not even the scariest part. At the moment of intense infatuation, the brain physically deactivates the ability to think critically. It literally turns off the area responsible for logic. That is why people move to another city for someone they have known for only 3 days. That is why they get matching tattoos that they will spend 10 years removing with a laser. This is not stupidity, this is evolution, and it had very solid reasons to turn us all, temporarily, into idiots. During research, scientists found that at the moment of looking at a loved one, the oldest survival zones, the so-called reward center, light up in the head. It works like an in-head slot machine. The brain sees a partner and instantly hits a jackpot of dopamine, the hormone of anticipation and pleasure. The exact same mechanism makes people with severe addictions reach for stimulants. But that is only half the trouble. At the moment of acute infatuation, the level of another important chemical, serotonin, drops in your brain to a critical minimum. The exact same level of serotonin is observed in patients with obsessive-compulsive disorder. And this drop is not a random system failure. The brain deliberately drives us to a mild madness so that we literally obsess over a specific person, casting everything else aside. This is our internal laser sight. At the same time, the prefrontal cortex, the zone responsible for logic and finding other people's flaws, completely shuts down. The brain fires your inner critic for the duration of dates so that you physically cannot notice a single red flag in your partner. The good news, this state is not permanent. After a year or a year and a half, the brain returns to normal.
Okay, but why did nature need to drive us to madness in the first place?
When our ancestors stood up on 2 legs, their pelvis narrowed, and the brain, on the contrary, began to grow rapidly. 2 processes collided head-on. For a long time, scientists believed that evolution found a brilliant way out, giving birth prematurely while the head still fits through. Today, this version is challenged, but one fact is indisputable. The human baby is born the most helpless creature on the planet. A baby chimpanzee clings to its mother's fur an hour after birth. A human baby cannot even hold its head up. It is just a crying bundle that requires 100% attention for years. 70,000 years ago, a single mother with such a baby in the wild savanna was doomed. Carrying a child, foraging for food, escaping predators all at the same time. Alone, the chances were 0. It took 2. Swans and penguins form pairs for life. They care for their offspring, but they do it absolutely calmly. They have hormones of attachment, but no phase of wild infatuation. Humans are almost the only species for which evolution prescribed a temporary psychosis. Why? For a penguin, choice is just the neighbors on the same ice floe. For a human, there are millions of options. If we chose a partner with a cold mind, we would forever compare pros and cons and would never dare to settle down. The madness of love is nature's way of forcing the door of doubt shut. The brain turns off logic, floods you with dopamine, and says, "All right, enough choosing, we take this one."
But how does nature decide exactly who we should fall in love with?
In fact, we choose our partners with our noses. In the famous sweaty t-shirt experiment, scientists had women sniff t-shirts worn by different men for 2 nights in a row. They discovered something astonishing. Women were subconsciously attracted to the scent of men whose immune system genes were as opposite to theirs as possible. Mixing such different immune systems guarantees that the future baby will be protected from almost all diseases. But in the modern world, this perfect radar is broken by birth control pills. When a woman takes hormonal contraceptives, her body thinks she is pregnant. In this state, she is subconsciously attracted to men with a similar set of genes, that is, relatives, since they are safer. The tragedy happens when a woman gets married, stops taking the pills to have a baby, and her hormones return to normal. She suddenly realizes that her husband smells wrong. Nature has simply turned on the inbreeding alarm that it had kept turned off for 10 years. And if that is not enough for you, geneticists have found a specific gene that literally determines whether your partner will be faithful to you. It is called allele 334. Scientists from the Karolinska Institute studied married couples and found that men who lack this gene are ideal, faithful family men. But if a man has 2 copies of this gene, the probability that he will experience a marital crisis, cheat, or refuse to marry altogether doubles. This mutation prevents the brain from properly processing attachment hormones. Without these receptors, a man simply cannot physiologically feel the deep phase of intimacy. For him, it is meaningless. So before going to the registry office, it might be safer to ask your partner not for an income statement, but for a DNA test. Furthermore, anthropologist Helen Fisher, whom we mentioned earlier, discovered another striking and rather cynical pattern. After analyzing divorce statistics in dozens of different cultures around the world, she found that the peak of breakups consistently occurs in the 4th year of a relationship. In evolutionary biology, this is called the 4-year itch, and there is a clear explanation for it. In ancient times, 4 years was just enough time to jointly raise one helpless infant to the age when they could already walk, minimally protect themselves, and transition to solid food. After this, the biological task of the parents was considered complete. The ancient chemical program of the love trap loosened its grip, and partners often parted ways to find new genes and increase the genetic diversity of their offspring. So our biological attachment was not originally designed for happily ever after. It was a temporary, pragmatic deal, limited by the time it took for one infant to grow up. If ancient sapiens had remained pragmatic, they would have abandoned each other at the first sign of trouble. The man would leave to find new genes, and the woman would look for a more promising hunter. If our ancestors had always thought with a cold head, their partnerships would break up too quickly. The helpless child would perish in the savannah, and the genes of such smart parents would simply disappear from history. Only those who knew how to temporarily lose their minds survived. Jealousy here is not a weakness, but a watchdog. For a man, it is a way to guarantee he is not spending resources raising someone else's child. For a woman, it is a guarantee that the provider will not run off to another while she is helpless with a baby in her arms. And if the partner did leave, nature turned on the most brutal penalty, a broken heart. The pain of breakup ignites the same areas in the brain as a physical injury like a broken arm. Nature made the rupture unbearable on purpose to make you hold on to each other until the very end. We carry software in our heads designed for small tribes of 100 people in the savannah, where choice was extremely limited. And today, we are trying to run this ancient program on Tinder, where we have millions of options. No wonder the system regularly glitches. So the next time you catch yourself doing another stupid thing for love or get upset over feelings, do not blame yourself. Your brain is just running an ancient program that has saved our species for hundreds of thousands of years. Being a fool in love is perhaps the smartest strategy nature has designed for us. Love each other. Take care of your helpless babies, and remember, without this stupidity, we would not even be here. So the next time you open Tinder, remember, you aren't looking for a soulmate. You are just trying to satisfy a panicked prehistoric caveman inside your head. Stay curious, subscribe to the channel, and see you next time by our evolutionary campfire.